Genesis is very important. First things first, Genesis 1 makes clear that God was hovering over the waters. God was hovering over the water. Proverbs tells us that in the Lord's hand, the king's heart is a stream of water, who he channels it to anyone who he desires, who wins his favor. Okay? And Jesus is said to walk on water. So the first way we must look at this is John 1:1, right? The beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? The Word eventually becomes flesh. So the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So Jesus, in spirit, walked on the hearts of mankind, on the water of mankind. And our body is 60% or so made up of water. When you give birth, okay, the woman breaks water, and it's called a birth certificate. So when we look at this in terms of the hidden message, the kind of pagan language that they're using. Now, why are they using pagan language? Because the people around there were pagans. The prophets of Baal interact with the prophet of Yah in Elijah, right? Jah, which is another word for Yah. This is very important, okay? Jesus didn't actually walk on water. The Jesus they're referring to was someone like me who spoke in a way that resonated with your heart, and it resonated with your very essence, and every molecule, every speck of your body. From the dust you were formed, okay? And the water is flowing through your body, flowing through your brain, flowing through your heart in the form of blood, etc. That is how I interpret it. That is how they meant to say it. And we see two major interpretations emerge. Listen very carefully. When you're raised by your father in your family tree, okay, he's teaching you things a certain way. If you're raised in an Inky family tree, you're going to be a bad person unless you're redeemed, because no bad tree can bear good fruit. If you're raised with righteousness, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. The fruit of the righteous is wisdom, true moral wisdom, true understanding of and knowledge of God through walking a path of righteousness. Proverbs 8:20, I walk in the way of righteousness along the paths of justice. And it's wisdom saying that. Proverbs 8:1-3 talks about, does not wisdom call out? Does not she raise her voice, okay, at the highest point, okay, by the gate leading into the city of the righteous, the city of God, okay, Zion, the city in the sky, the city with God in the spiritual realm, in the sky, so to speak. So there's two major interpretations. Everything else is just someone playing a game. One is the interpretation of truth. The other is the occultists who follow the God of this world. The material world, the flesh, void of spirit. They're not the God of my body. I'm one with the God of my body. Okay? But they're the God of all those who choose material, money, right? Cultures of this world, allowed cultures, allowed nations, things that are allowed in this world by the globalists, the new world order, the corporate partnerships, the states of this world, the nations of this world, the transnational corporations, the conglomerates, etc. Okay, so now that we're crystal clear on that, water is being used metaphorically and used in more than one way, okay, and spiritually first and foremost, okay, and God hovered, the beginning of the Bible, first chapter, he hovered over the water like a falcon. Now, if you're from the tree of knowledge, it goes back to Inanna and Ishtar and her stories of going into the underworld and their tree of knowledge, which is a tree of occult sexual activity, secret and secretion society. Okay? Then you interpret this differently and you live in a fairyland where Jesus actually walked on water. You see what I'm saying? So that is the interpretation of Baal. Bible by Baal. Read and read. When a lot of people couldn't read, they had oral traditions. And the settlers who could read went over there and settled into the thrones of the area. Satan, the god of this world, and the thrones of this world. He offers Jesus the kingdoms of this world because he's the god of the material world. He is the God of Europe and Israel, first and foremost, the major players in the material world. And then Asia, then everyone else in order of their power, in order of their misdeeds, in order of their allegiance and their rewards from the devil, the God of this world. You couldn't miss it if you tried. Genesis 1:26. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image. Who is he talking about? Well, people interpret God as Yah and El. Okay, and there's also El Shaddai, and so on and so forth. The appropriate interpretation of this, from my research, and if you think I'm wrong, please put it in the comments. One way or another, the interpretation is the same, whether or not this detail is right, is Elohim, like Abraham and Ibrahim. Elohim, El, the deity, O, the reproductive cycle, him. Now, who's the children of El? That's where you get Baal and so on. The people related to El, his relatives, right? El and Baal and so on. That's why the elite are said to be moral relatives, relativists, because it's relative to the relatives. Whose perspective? Is it El? Is Ra El, who's trying to see things like Ra? Or is it Baal? Okay, who's also related to El, and Enki, and Marduk, and Enlil, and Tiamat, going back before El, and Sumerian, Mesopotamian kind of stuff, and her husband Abzu, also known as Apsu. Okay. So let us make them in our image. So some of these guys come out more like warriors like Baal. Some of these guys come out more like this kind of warrior and that kind of warrior. Okay. Some come out more like sages, like El himself and Yah. And it goes on to say that the sons of El, the sons of God, are going to rule over the life on earth, including the birds in the sky. The Satanists interpret this as they should rule over the righteous, including the top martial artists, and mislead the martyrs and sexually abuse them and so on and so forth. Okay, the falcon is a bird in the sky. And that they would say, according to their order, I'm not that high up there. That's part of what's going on. However, because they're witches and magicians and wizards, they realize in reality, I'm God's son. So it gets complex. They're still trying to exert power over me, but it's like liberal doublethink. They feel some type of way about it. Genesis 2:7. The Lord forms man from the dust. The D-us-T. The days, being in a daze, a magic spell. Spellings, read and read. Okay? The dust. Okay? And the days, the day, the sun, Shemash and Utu, the sun deities from the Middle East. Okay, Ra and Re as defined by them. Horus, the Kanhor, the Minhor, as defined by them. And all the other sun deities like Helios and Sol in Rome. It goes on to say that there's 4 head waters. Head waters. What ear? Waters scrambled can also be WS or W rates, UU rates, W, UU the rates, okay? And you'll see that the wordplay lines up here. And if you reject the formula, you see that it goes along with the story, that we can remove the wordplay and we still get the same message, so it's valid no matter how you slice it. Enki is key in this. Enki, right? Eri, the Igbo Eri who comes down the sky, the true form of Horus. Har-O-Eri, what it refers to in its true form, not as defined by the occult. Because Har-O-Eris is defined differently. Har-Where? Horus, the son of the Great One. The God made the sun and the moon. Lesser light and greater light spiritually and physically. Going back to the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. So Enki is the deity of semen, water, fertility, magic, crafts. Very key in masonry. This is their oldest craft deity from what I gather. Again, there's Ptah, there's Hephaestus and Vulcan, but this is their oldest deity of crafts. There's scribes and sages like Imhotep who are deified. A deity of intelligence, Intel, I, Gene, C, okay, intelligence agencies. A deity of knowledge, okay, and that leads us to the tree of knowledge. Him and Ishtar, Inanna, Aphrodite, Venus, Asherah, Anat, they're all just variations of the same corporate whore who was the ancient equivalent of a corporate whore, which is a kind of ambitious witch, okay, who is the consort of Yah and other deities as well. She's a pharaoh. Any pagan deity who goes her way, Baal, that she's on his side. You know what I'm saying? Asherah poles, Astarte, rituals, Baal rituals, Jezebel, Balat, the lady of Byblos, Bible, Balat, paper, papyri, Byblos, book, and so on and so forth. Okay? So this is what is going on. Now, in part 2, we're going to get into the 4 rivers, the 4 forms of water that come from the Garden of Eden. We'll talk about the Tigris and the Euphrates and Cush and so on and so forth. Okay? And we'll see that the wordplay here gives away what they're trying to do, especially with two major forms, born and flesh. Okay? Born, bone, and flesh. Okay? Flesh, elf, scramble. They're people that look like elves, and they're called gnomes in Egypt, the different regions, as defined by these people. Okay, these people, you know, the Gnome, the G, the earth deity, the Ge is Gaia, okay, and is also known as in Sumer as Ki. Ki and G in Sumer, in Rome and Greece, as defined by them, is G and Gaia. The key energy, the earth energy, as opposed to the Spirit of God, which is the Spirit of righteousness through the tree of life, how God naturally meant it to be. Supernatural, natural, you see me be formed. God formed me through generational righteousness. God formed them from the dust and the tree of knowledge. I am from above, they are from below. God made the waters above in the sky, he made the waters below, and that's in Genesis as well.